Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Local Media Optimization, How to Best Optimize Your Media Plan Across Your Brand Footprint. We will be getting started in just a few moments. Today's webinar is being recorded, and a video of the recording will be emailed to you. If at any time you have questions, please type them into the chat box. Now, I would like to introduce Rex Briggs, CEO of Marketing Evolution, and co-host Chan Situ and Kate Gutman, Marketing Evolution's Directors of Software Operations. As many of you know, Rex has been working with Fortune 500 companies to improve marketing ROI for more than 2 decades. He is a leading expert in unlocking ROI profits through measurement and is credited with pioneering many digital measurement techniques, including post-click analysis, attribution modeling, and cross-media measurement. Chan leads the development of the firm's core algorithms to bring intelligent marketing effectiveness technology to marketers. Prior to joining Marketing Evolution, Chan spent several years in the financial services industry in various operations and program management capacities. Kate's focus is on media integration. She has worked with both large and small advertising agencies as well as media companies in media research, planning, and buying roles. Now, Rex, Chan, and Kate, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Christy. Appreciate it. This is Rex Briggs, and it's a pleasure to be here again for our monthly webinar. Again, this is mainly for the focus of our current clients and customers, and we always welcome additional attendees who want to learn more about Marketing Evolution as well. And I'm excited about today's topic, which is about national and local impact-based planning. A few years ago, we were at a conference, and we heard someone make the observation that there was more variability between markets than there was over time when you looked at the variation in marketing mix type of analysis. And it really got me thinking about this question, which is, given how much variability there is from one city to the next, might there be a bigger opportunity for optimization if we could help marketers figure out how to pinpoint and cherry pick those markets that were most valuable to them and the consumers within those markets that were most valuable to them. And that began a process of us thinking about how we could do more with that form of optimization. As we got closer to it, we also recognized that, wow, there are actually different motivations and need sets that exist within customers, even buying the same brand, in different cities and different regions. The competitive landscape might be different. The pricing and promotion strategy might be different. The stores and the experience that someone might have when they walk in to experience a retail brand in one geography might be different than another, especially as some of our clients were going through remodels and facelifts to some of their retail establishments and so forth. And there were just so many reasons to think about local much more deeply and figure out how you could help integrate that into the optimization. Fortunately, I have some phenomenal people to work with at Marketing Evolution. You get to meet 2 of them today in presenting who could focus on this problem really for the last 18 months and figure out how do we systematically improve it, enhance it, deliver something pretty amazing in terms of local and national impact-based planning. And I have to say I haven't seen anything like this as we've talked to other advertising agencies and marketers in terms of the ability to simultaneously solve for where each dollar should go based upon the specific marketing objectives and needs and goals. And I'm very proud of what the team has accomplished. I'm also incredibly grateful for our clients that have went with us on this journey to help us beta test this and refine it and improve it. And I noticed that some of them are on this call today. I don't know if we have clearances to give you a shout out, so I will refrain from doing that. But just know that I'm incredibly grateful and appreciative of your engagement and your involvement in this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chan. Take it away.
Hi there. This is actually Kate, and I'm going to kick things off before passing along to Chan. And I would echo Rex's sentiment that we are very excited to share this with you today. It's the culmination of months of work and insights that led to this latest development in our impact-based planning software. And with that, we have a short agenda to work with you through in the next hour. essentially level setting the national and local marketing and media landscape and why advertisers choose one or the other or both in some cases, as well as introducing you to two use case scenarios of those marketers that we have essentially shaped our system to solve for, as just two examples of potential use cases for IBP. And then second, we'd like to take you through an overview of the engine that's operating behind the scenes of our impact-based planning software, our IBP. And Chan will be leading that overview, diving into our algorithm and the data behind it, and then the logic flow to solve for both national and local marketing optimizations. And then last, we would like to actually show you some real-life illustrative use cases that we've seen our clients turn to the IBP platform to solve, and hopefully that will get your creative juices flowing and to see how exactly IBP might be a solution for you and your business. So with that, I will jump right into the national and local marketing strategy. And this is somewhat just laying the groundwork of our overall approach to optimizing national and local marketing. So some of what we're going to cover off here isn't likely news to those of you on the line, but it's just a good reminder and a level set as to why we took the approach that we did. So first and foremost, why advertisers might turn to national media. It's simply because that their product or service is distributed nationally, and we're all familiar with brands such as these that employ national media to get that message across, and it just makes sense that if their potential customers are across the country, that they would advertise across the country as well. The second point that marketers and advertisers might consider when employing national media is the fact that it can be a much more efficient tactic in delivering a message. And while it's likely more cost efficient in ways, because once your product is available or available to 60% of the country is the current rule of thumb, it's something that you've overcome the CPM premiums of local media to compensate for. So we see that, and there's the one other thing that's making national media much more efficient is the fact that there's a lot of oversight and manual labor involved in maintaining local media buys. So not only is it 60% rule of thumb a reason, but also just the manual labor and the cost of doing business locally. On the flip side of that, there's the rationale for buying local media, and there's quite a few reasons why an advertiser or marketer would consider local media. First is just the other side of the sales distribution funnel, and that's that your market penetration or sales distribution is limited to just the number of DMAs, and it makes sense that you would focus your marketing efforts on just those DMAs. The second would be whether when a marketer might be rolling out a product across the country and wanting to test either how that product might resonate with an audience or how a particular message would resonate with an audience. So they would look to or turn to local media to accomplish that. And then the third point here was that there's actually a different need for messages by market. And we see that often with big box retailers. I think this week you probably might see that in the Northeast, your target might still be promoting snow blowers, where in Florida they might have already broken out the pool umbrellas. So there's definitely a need for different messages, and local media can help deliver that. Then there's the point that national media can often overcover in certain areas, and there's lose opportunity in areas which it doesn't have as much of a penetration. So in those areas, spot or local media is employed to create a situation where all areas are on par with one another, and delivers more of a equal message across the country. Then the fifth point here is when local media is used to heavy up in certain areas where you might find the industry or investors that you are looking to address, or the management or headquarters of a particular company. And this can be done to simply keep have the appearance where the advertising efforts are potentially larger than they actually are, and be something of a morale boost for the marketer and advertiser in question. And then the last point here that we've seen come to take shape and be something of a trend in the last 2 years is the ability for marketers to harness big data, and that fact allows them to target media hyper-locally. And that's something that we can easily see with digital data, as well as the latest evolution with set-top box data in the cable industry, and definitely see that as a continuing trend to move to much more hyper-local, one-on-one communication. So looking at both the rationale for local and national media, we at Marketing Evolution developed something of, this is an approach to how we wanted to optimize within our impact-based planning software to solve for these different situations. And you'll see here across the top that a marketer or advertiser might have certain particular business or marketing goals that are either national or local, and the media strategies that they employ. And in the upper left quadrant, you'll see that we have thought about those advertisers that are planning nationally with using national media to deliver against a national goal. And again, we see that most often with national retailers that have a footprint in all across the country, all 210 DMAs. On the next quadrant down, you'll see those advertisers that are planning locally to deliver against a national goal. And that might be a mature packaged goods product that, while it may be distributed nationally, there may be a limited budget in play that only allows them to advertise locally and really hit those markets where they have a strong presence or they see big gains coming from. And then your upper right quadrant, you'll see that there are those advertisers that are planning nationally against local goals. And that's something that quick service or fast food restaurants that may have a presence in the majority of the country and also have the potential of customers coming in from other areas would employ. And it is something of an efficiency play that they can easily purchase that national media and still meet their goals by market or region. And then the last use case that we considered here was a local plan against a local goal. And that's something that can be seen with those advertisers or marketers who have a regional footprint or less than national footprint and would have budgets determined by DMA, either individually or across either a group of DMAs, and look to plan that way. So you can see here that there's quite a few business situations that we have considered, and the interactions of these we've also built into the system. So we'd like to now open up a short poll to everyone on the line and ask you all, what type of marketer are you or do you represent? So if everyone can look to their GTM GoToMeeting poll entry on the right where they're following along with the presentation and make their selection there. You are able to make multiple selections if you're representing multiple clients, advertisers, marketers, or feel free to just choose the one that represents the majority of dollars that you represent. And I will give everyone just a few more seconds to complete that poll. Okay, it looks like we've got about 68%, so I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Everyone has made their selection. We're over 70 now, so doing better than before. Oops, let's see. Okay. It looks like we have about 60% of the audience that is planning locally against local goals, and I'll stay on this screen. So about 60% of the audience is actually option D here, and I think you will definitely find what we have to say of particular interest. And we have another 27% who are planning locally against a national goal. So that would be C here. And then we have a 5% who are planning nationally against a local goal. So those like potentially quick service or fast food, present in the majority of the country. And then we have about 32% of the audience that are really focusing just nationally with their marketing efforts against a national goal. And I think you will also find that this today, our impact-based planning software does answer for all of those business situations. So there's something for everyone. And thank you all for participating in that. It's helpful for us to see. And let's see here, back into our presentation. So with that, I want to introduce you to two profiles of two users, and these are just illustrative users and advertisers or media mavens out there that would be looking to our impact-based planning platform to help optimize their campaigns. And we will follow through with these two users for the rest of the presentation as to how this, how our platform helps deliver against their marketing goals. So we have Liz here, who is a director at a known media agency, and she is working on behalf of a national cable network that has been tasked with promoting a new series that's targeted towards adults 25 to 54-year-olds. And while the cable network does have a national audience, clearly, that they do expect the new series to resonate more with potential viewers in particular markets. So Liz would like to take all of those factors under consideration when she is optimizing her campaign. Next, we have David Brown, who is the CMO of a regional grocery chain, Farm Fresh Foods, that's located in the South-Southeast with about 40 locations in 25 markets. And So David would like to manage or like to focus his efforts on those areas in particular, and also wants to consider that they have an internal brand assessment that has determined brand development indices or BDIs for all markets. So that's another factor that David would like to consider as he works through this process. So I think you can see here that Liz and David represent two variations on optimize with both national and local media, potentially, and we'd like to continue on with how our software and our platform can help them do that. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Chan to take you through the actual engine, and there you go. I think, Chan, do you have it?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kate. So, my name is Chan, and I'll be taking this audience through an overview of our optimization approach. And here we're focusing specifically how we are looking at national and local media and simultaneously arriving at optimizing campaigns. So first, want to spend a little bit of time talking about our core methodology. So understanding the components of our optimization and how we construct spend to impact response functions. So these response functions will tell us for every dollar spent, what is the marginal impact on a particular KPI? And it's through those response functions that we truly can arrive at a good mixture of national and local media to be able to optimize our efficiency there. So first, we're going to be breaking down to individual components that come together to build the SURF. The first being the frequency analysis. Through campaign measurement, Marketing Evolution observes the incremental impact of media on the target population. So here on this particular graph, for each additional media exposure, we're able to see incremental lift of a particular campaign using a media. Next, reach and frequency. So this comes through our syndicated data partners such as Nielsen, MRI. Most agencies have access to this kind of data, so it should be familiar. And here we're also charting out with each incremental media exposure, what is the incremental reach that the population is being exposed to in a potential ad. And lastly, we're looking at media cost. So this is the cost as negotiated by a marketer or an agency. Together, the three components come together and form the spend to impact response functions. So these are illustrative examples, but typically we do see a pretty long longevity of the media coming through television versus digital versus magazines are faster in terms of tapering off. So for each dollar spent, the response function tells us the incremental impact on a KPI. We observe diminishing returns, and after a certain point, it's no longer efficient to put additional dollars towards a particular media, and this is where you see it flatten out. So the curve can mathematically tell us where that occurs. So at this point, you're probably thinking, well, media doesn't operate in a vacuum. If I have television and display advertising deployed simultaneously, there must be some kind of interaction or duplication that we want to account for. So it's absolutely important to acknowledge and account for the media duplication interactions. At Marketing Evolution, we're using known audience data from the syndicates as well as our own measurement to determine the overlap between television, digital, magazine, and so on. And those overlaps are considered as part of our optimization process. So moving on, let's actually come back to our use cases. First, we can come back to Liz Templeton, who is working on behalf of the National Cable Network and is trying to promote a new TV show. Since it's a new TV show, we are building national awareness. It will be shown across the country. And she also believes that specific markets will be more responsive to the advertising and tune into the show. So with a healthy budget to manage, her first consideration will probably be national media. So print, cable networks, some of them whom might be competitors even, digital media, social media. And then she wants to know if she should buy some local media in markets that she believes will do better. So if she does that hypothesis, well, she believes there will be incremental people to be made aware, but, she really wants to know how much and where she should put those dollars, knowing that it will be more expensive and will have more labor, and it will be more labor intensive to manage those placements. So to answer the question, Liz was working with Marketing Evolution and has impact-based planning software to configure for this very specific situation. She tells the software her media consideration set between national and potential local DMAs and what media she might be buying those DMAs, whether it's local television, radio, or out of home. So by spending local media, we will know there will be incremental impact, and the software will tell her exactly how much it will be to be efficient in buying those. So how does IBP do this exactly? Well, I want to take you guys through the thought process and the workflow here. First, we consider the show's footprint. In this case, it's a national footprint. The goal of our optimization is to maximize total awareness across the country for this new TV show. We build the spend to impact response functions, as I showed you guys earlier, and it will be in the consideration set to determine how much awareness we can generate with each additional dollar in each media stream. We then build SERFs for local media for each DMA to determine the incremental awareness that local media can add to in the markets of interest. And lastly, we account for duplication of the national media to each DMA against local media in that DMA. So we deduplicate within each market. We're going to show you the results of this test in a little bit. So just to go through the second use case as well, we're talking about now David Brown, who again is the CMO of the local grocery chain. His stores are located in 25 DMAs in the South and Southeast regions. So in David's case, historically the company has only bought local media. But David's new to his role, he's familiar with response functions, and he wonders if it may be efficient to buy some national media that may be cheaper, because it's giving him a lot of overhead to be planning right now market to market. So the question is going to be, should he be buying national media? How much incremental impact he can potentially see in the markets that he actually care about, as well as how much media he's going to be wasting if it's worth buying those. So to help answer his question, he turns to our software as well. And in this case, IBP is first going to be looking at his local footprint. We're going to optimize across his footprint to maximize total impact that he's looking for, awareness and intent to shop at his stores. What's different about this case is that those impressions outside of his markets don't count. So how do we approach this? We first build SERFs to reveal the impact of local media in each of his markets. We then also build spend to impact response functions for the national media that he wants to play with to determine if the additional impact can be had within the 25 DMAs that he actually cares about. And we do this through localizing the national media, and we use Nielsen and circulation data, among others, to figure out the portion of national media that we can attribute to in every DMA. Of course, since he's buying national media, we're accounting for the total cost of the national buy across the country and only recognizing the impact in his footprint again. And lastly, we still have to make sure that we deduplicate across national and local media within each DMA that we're looking at. And again, we'll be showing you the results of David's case later on in this demonstration. So at this point, I want to give you guys a quick overview. I mentioned that Marketing Evolution works with a number of data partners. We directly license media data from Nielsen, MRI, Scarborough, as well as Facebook and Excelate in the new digital space. So we're working with data streams coming from these sources and making sure that we are accurately accounting for media reach potential, similar to how most agencies and marketers are getting that data. So in summary of this methodology section, we've looked at the algorithm and how it takes into account different goals and media buying strategies between national and local marketers. We're also comparing and weighing the trade-offs between media cost, reach, and impact of national and local media buys to be able to make the most informed decisions and whether it's worth it as a national marketer to buy some additional local media and vice versa. We're accounting for interactions and overlap of national and local media by looking at audiences and duplication across specific media streams. And we're working with best-in-class media sources as well as our clients' proprietary data streams to build and optimize response functions to answer your business questions. So with that, I'm actually going to hand this back to Kate, who will take you through a view of what our software actually looks like, as well as the case studies that we just discussed.
Thanks, Chan. So as Chan alluded to, we are going to see as Liz and David dive into the software platform and exactly how they would go about inputting the parameters that they'd like to consider and are of interest to them, as well as the results that they saw and how our IBP impact-based planning software helped determine the best optimal campaign for each of them. So with that, we have Liz again, who is a local marketer with a national footprint, and as we know, she is advertising or promoting a new comedy series on the cable network TSN. It is a national cable network. Yet the comedy series is expected to resonate with potential viewers in particular markets more than other markets. So with that, this is the input screen of the IBP interface, and it's very intuitive. It's pretty much point and click, just making a knowledge-based choices with every selection here. So she would first come down the left portion here and select the lift that she would like to base the optimization on. And here she selected the Marketing Evolution benchmarks, which are based on 10 years of our research in the entertainment space that she can look to provide an average of how she should anticipate her campaign performing. And then next she would select her network, TSN. We would have that as well as other networks in her portfolio under that drop-down. Next, because the series is targeted to adults 25 to 54, she would make that selection. And then because it is a new series, she would choose a situation of low awareness or under 50%. If it had been a returning series that she was looking to promote, the other option would be to have a high awareness situation there. And based on our early reads of the research that we provided for Liz and TSN, that the pre-campaign level was set to 15% under that awareness metric. So she was optimizing towards awareness with this scenario and was starting out at a 15% awareness level. So the next selection there would be the minimum composition set to 0 just to include the largest potential of levers playing through. That can be set to narrow the scope or the focus of the levers, which I will share with you on the next slide. And then the duration of the campaign was simply set to represent about fourth quarter of last year, looking to a December 7th premiere of the program. And altogether, Liz had $10 million to work with for this campaign. So that was entered into the budget input there. Over on the right side, then, there's just a simple naming of the report that she's running here. And for reference, you can name it whatever you'd like. She's kept it simple here and could enter any notes if she'd like as well. And then last on this input screen, she would go into the campaign footprint and just select national, which is essentially the default in our system. Should you want to make any other selections, you would do that here. But because, again, the cable network is national and all impact across the country is valuable, she would keep that footprint selection to national. So with that, she would scroll down to the second half of the input screen and get into the real detail of the media considerations that she would be making or would like to consider in this optimization. And for every DMA that is of interest to Liz and TFN, we have available local broadcast TV by day part, local cable TV, newspapers by title, magazines by title, local radio by day part, and out-of-home by format. So all of those media levers, as we refer to them as our golden list, are available to her, along with our historic national levers, which include network TV, cable TV, digital, national magazines, and the like. So Liz would make her selections here, either selecting all of the 982 levers you can see, or cherry picking those that are of particular interest to her. And then she would simply save and run, and she would come to our output screen, which provides several variations of reports. You can see here there's your media by market, by roll-up, and by lever. So different views of how exactly the optimization has allocated dollars. And as well as in the interface's output screens, there are several visuals to how the budget was allocated. And I throw back to the spend to impact response functions that Shan took you through. You can see how each media was layered in on top of one another, and within the system, these charts are very much dynamic and interactive, and you can click through and really understand how your campaign was put together and optimized. So with that, we'll go into Liz's actual output and what that meant for her. So with local media in the mix, awareness of the new comedy series that she was looking to promote was improved by more than 9%. So when she did open up the optimization to include or to consider local levers, and you'll see here that those levers that came into play for her were out of home and local radio, that Liz was able to impact 9% more people on the awareness metric for the same $10 million budget as she has here on the left side with just national media. So this is clearly playing out that local would be a prudent move for Liz and the promotion of this new comedy series. So with that, we'll check back in with David. And David's journey through IBP is somewhat similar to Liz's, yet he has different considerations, as we know. And his company, Farm Fresh Foods, is located just in the southeast with 40 locations and 25 DMAs. And there's also some BDI, brand development indices, that he would like to take into consideration and play through the optimization as well. So with that understanding, he would open up our software, and he has here selected, again, the benchmarks that we have based on our aggregated history of research in the retail space, and he would then make the selection of his brand against that. The target here for Farm Fresh Foods was adults 25 to 49, and make that selection. And then he also is wanting to optimize on an awareness objective. He's got a slightly higher pre-campaign level here at 33%. He does have some traction with that we've detected. Again, opening up the lever selection to the most potential levers possible with that minimum composition index. And then the duration that he was looking to optimize against, or the campaign timeline, was first quarter of this year. So January through March, with a budget of $3.5 million. And then what we want to call out here is where David can consider those brand development indices in the optimization, and that's his own proprietary research that his company conducted to understand exactly where the brand has more potential, and he's able to enter that here. After selecting all the DMAs in his footprint, he can enter those BDIs under our market index function, or the inputs there, and you can see in this screenshot that Tampa had a slightly higher above average BDI, so that is one of those markets that he would like to favor, and that with that understanding. So David would then go through the same process as Liz, making his media selection and choosing both national and local media, because he does want to see potentially if national media is a good play given his footprint. And what he is able to find here, that with the addition of national magazines and a few select titles, he was able to impact an additional 12% of his adults 25 to 49 audience with national magazines in the mix, and that's at the same budget level of that $3.5 million. So again, something that he might not have considered before or couldn't necessarily quantify, he can within our impact-based planning, and has here. So definitely a smart move on David's part. One other thing that he obviously wanted to consider too was that the markets that had a higher brand development index were something that potentially needed more dollars allocated to meet that excuse me, that potential. And those 7 markets that had the higher than average BDIs are shown here. And by turning that on in the system under our campaign footprint function, he is able to push more dollars into those markets and impact an additional 144,000 people across those markets, improving impact by 50%. So that's making those BDI numbers a reality and seeing through that research in our software as well. So, in summary, you can see that our IBP software platform allows marketers the ability to optimize both national and local campaigns under a variety of business situations. We've just taken you through two of those, very specific to Liz and David, but I hope you can see that any variation is possible within the system. And overall, the system is designed to incorporate a large number of variables for consideration, which includes targets, media. Altogether, there's thousands of national and local media levers available to users. That market indices are able to be input, cost unique to each client, and optimization goals unique to each product or services purchase funnel are variables under consideration and considered to quantitatively prove that the efficiencies of employing national and local marketing tactics. So in line with the integral survey work that we do with the same aim, we work with each client to configure these platforms, the IBP software, to best fit your need and deliver the right time insight. And we hope that what we've shared with you today has illustrated that and gets your juices flowing. So
Kate, let's jump into some Q&A then. I see a few questions coming in, and I want to have you talk a little bit about digital and some of the digital geo-targeting. Wasn't highlighted necessarily in one of the examples, but it seems that the ability to look at from a local level to say, well, if I geo-targeted this versus, well, if I just bought sort of a national or behaviorally targeted thing that didn't account for the geographical positioning, that one of the things that you're solving for in that algorithm is which one is going to be generate more impact per dollar spent. Is that correct? Can you elaborate on that a bit?
That is. I think in conjunction with our programmatic partners and the data feeds that we are receiving through them, that is something we are able to consider and optimize around as well. So we are taking that into consideration.
Then another question came up, which I think you've addressed, which is if I'm operating in just a few geographies and I'm using local planning software, how does what Marketing Evolution provides help me allocate my budget across these different cities, knowing that some cities are more valuable than others? It seems like that's what you're showing with your behavior, the BDI, the Brand Development Index, or the ability to rank and index the different relative value of different markets.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's designed to incorporate BDI, CDI, or any other metrics that would make sense in that input, and that's something that we work with clients on an individual basis to consider. So,
well, I recall a case study working with a company that wanted to go after the top 10 markets, and as it ranked based upon how much their product sold in those markets. So that would be a category development index. But then they also wanted to add an 11th market that had to do with where the CEO and CFO lived, because they wanted to make sure that they saw the ads. You made a reference to sort of the ego buy or the placement when you and I have talked about this before. If I was using that software, I could see how you'd go through and you'd rank the markets by that category development index and put in those figures. How would I put in that 11th market where the CEO just lives? Is that just forcing it into the plan with a specific dollar spend, or how does that work?
I would recommend if not one of those top 10 markets, that it would be something that you would essentially be optimizing around, since it's more of a irrational decision in a way, or it's something that defies, I guess, something that's quantifiable there. It's something that you clearly want to do, but it would be something that you could input those dollars and optimize around. Potentially the system would see it as a valuable market and all the media under consideration, and push even more dollars into that if it's there. But if it's outside the footprint, it would likely be considered separately. But you can.
So could you use the compare feature to run one scenario that included that 11th market and one scenario that didn't, and then you could see what it was costing you to cater to the executive's ego, as opposed to spending that money in the most efficient way?
I think, yeah, that would be an excellent way to prove out that situation and see if maybe the dollars are better steered somewhere else.
Gotcha. Okay. So in a way, that's kind of a cool way of finding out, hey, what is this, as you described it, irrational? What's that irrational decision costing us in terms of how much impact are we losing in people's influence to achieve that at the end? I like that. Okay. Another question here that came in is you mentioned early in the presentation about the manual oversight of managing local markets as being pretty expensive. It seems to me that the way that this system works to help local planning and the connection in with the marketing calendar and invoice system as part of the overall ROI Brain software, that could help lower the cost of managing all the local markets. Could you elaborate on that?
Definitely. Once this system is in the hands of our clients and their agencies in use across both planning and buying, that it's a fairly seamless communication of plans and realizing those trade-offs, the real-time trade-offs, as media is being shuffled around or avails are changing day to day. So it does allow for more of a seamless process on the sides of agencies, and then for the advertisers and marketers to very much see through that overall process how things are shifting, and as opposed to just getting the post by months later to see where they landed.
Gotcha. So in other words, a agency media buyer could have this plan and these buckets of where to spend, like what you showed in the previous case studies. And then as they're looking for what available inventory, if they can't get that full budget spent in that city, they can go back and say, okay, well, if they will spend 2/3 of that budget, here's the amount, and then rerun the optimization to see where that extra 1/3 would best be allocated. Is that sort of how that back and forth speeds up?
Yes, I think exactly that, and that the overall that reports can be shared. So if one buyer is focusing on one effort, that they can easily communicate that to other buyers as well, and see that through the system as opposed to after the fact.
Great, and I see that some of these are from some of our agency partners to some of the marketers we work with are on the webinar. So if any of you out there are interested in helping us refine that or improve that, or you have some specific ideas of how you would like that to work to try to save some of the manual effort and so forth that's involved in the local buying, please by all means reach out to Kate or Chan or myself, and we can elaborate more if that question didn't answer it dead on what you were looking for. And then one final question here, and again, if you have other questions, by all means, click the question button and send it on in. But the last question I have here is, as marketers get savvy about one-to-one, do you think they will find that certain local media delivery can do a better job than national buys, even after factoring in the higher cost? So I think this, in other words, this question is getting at that idea of cherry picking and being able to really target exactly the value proposition and the need and so forth at a kind of a hyper-local level. as opposed to the sort of more broadly spread out national buys? Is this getting us more towards one-to-one marketing?
I think so, and I think that in conjunction with the overall survey work that we do to detect how that those hyperlocal efforts are performing would be able to prove out that marketing ROI.
Well, that answer brings up just a follow-up question, then, which is really part of what's delivered in the mid-campaign ROI analysis that Marketing Evolution is delivering is analysis of who's responding to which messages. And that analysis can include who's responding by region, right, by DMA. And so really you could go to a mid-campaign that's purely national and then at the midpoint say, wow, these local areas are responding much differently. I remember seeing that when we were working with a client and Procter & Gamble launched a competitive message that they weren't expecting, but P&G was only in 30 markets. And that allowed the competitor to say, oh, well, how should we pivot our message to go against P&G in those local markets while still maintaining our national? Could you elaborate on if that's the kind of thing you could see running through the optimization examples, and which maybe of the two examples you ran through it fits more like?
I think having that mid-campaign read would mean probably going through in the system and setting, if I'm following you correctly, setting the dollars that have already been spent and then adjusting those markets or the BDI that you may have detected in those markets that are over or underperforming, and then running an optimization on that. So taking into account what has happened to date, and then adjusting the future dollars accordingly. I think if I'm following your train of thought, that would be my approach.
Yeah, and the follow-up question just came in was just asking about have you collected primary data for this model? And I think that the answer to that, just to clarify that the question that just came in, was that you've got a lot of individual ROI benchmark data that's all been gathered through primary survey and behavioral modeling against sales, integrated with syndicated data like Nielsen, MRI, Escalate, et cetera, that help you build the plan. So you can think of that as past tense data that's being used right now. And then you have ongoing data for when we're doing the ROI measurement for a client that's looking at, well, how is this campaign working right now? And you can rerun that through that same algorithm to adjust to what's happening in campaign at the moment. So you've got an interesting blend to answer the question that came in of historical data that we've gathered directly and that we've integrated third-party data with, as well as data that's happening right now in campaign that can be used to do the same type of optimization. And if that question, by the way, didn't answer your...
to that too.
Sure, and I'll just say, if that didn't answer, because I know we're getting towards the end, send us an email and we'll follow up, and Chen, go ahead and jump on that.
The case that you brought up in terms of basically two different competitors and looking at how their messages are playing out head-to-head against each other by market. In fact, when we survey, during the mid-campaign process, we can tease out if we have set up the question in advance that asks, how were you exposed to our campaign? Were you exposed to the competitors' advertising? We can actually see from the pool of respondents who is responding well to each advertisement, each type of advertisement. What are the psychographic or economic sort of profiles of those individuals? And we can probably figure out, is it older men who are more liking our ad versus women who are more liking the competitor's ad, and it could be any number of variables. And then we can figure out from looking at that, how do we change the creative or change the messaging a little bit to be more comprehensive, or whatever the decision could be. And then we can also, at the media level, look to see where those responsive individuals actually lie. If it's a psychographic pool or economic pool of people who are particularly have a high response rate to the message, we can then sort of hyper-target in each DMA the specific media where those individuals have, they tend to watch more of a particular network TV show or a particular local magazine, or maybe they're listening to a specific radio channel. And through that, and we have that information through Scarborough and other sources, we can know that the profile of those individuals. Then we can sort of have all of that intelligence be in the software and say, well, we want now at the mid-course campaign correction to focus on these individuals. And we know they're hidden in media levers A, B, C, D, and these select market sets, and we'll put money in there, and hopefully see an improvement through the second half of our campaign.
That is an excellent point to end on. If you had other questions that we didn't address here, by all means, reach out to us directly or to your client service rep, success representative, and we'd be happy to dig deeper into any of these topics. We look forward to having you on our next webinar. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.